Hello and welcome to this walkthrough of LoopBoss from Channel Robot. My name's Lyndon Mulcahy-Parker and I wrote this. So what is LoopBoss? It's a multi-band, multi-effects processor designed to boss your loops. What do I mean by that? Well, it's not going to change your loop tempo or the cadence of your loop or the pattern of your loop, but it will allow you to change the character and the sound of your loop content. So let's go through the layout. Here at the top, right at the top is the preset browser. You click this and we'll open the preset browser. As you can see, there's lots of different presets already included, and it lets you save your own presets, add new ones, add new categories, etc. It will also allow you to import and export presets if you want to swap and change them with other people, and will allow you to favorite your presets. So here's showing you all the favorites that you've got, which is currently none. And if we click on this button here, we get restroom as a favorite, and there it is. So you can search for favorites that way. Obviously we can turn that off and jump back out into here. So moving down through the interface, below the presets is the 4-band editor. Here you set crossover points for the 4 bands, and you do that by moving one of the vertical sliders, just drag and drop. So you can drag these around left and right to get different band settings, and you get to see the frequency that is being used here in the middle. When it's doing this, when you are doing this, it will mute the audio to stop any kind of unpleasant artifacts happening. But as soon as you let go, it will start playing the audio again in your new band setup. You can change the gain of each band by moving the colored line up and down to anywhere you want. If you double click on its name, on its value, you will immediately reset that back to 0, 0. Below the 4-band editor, to the side of the 4-band editor is the master volume control and the dry wet mix. This is kind of going to probably be important to a lot of the instances of its usage. So as I was saying, below the 4-band editor are 4 vertical strips of controls, all color-coded to match their band. The top of each band is a solo and a mute. So why don't we just start playing a drum loop and we can have a listen to it completely dry and see what it sounds like. And currently we have no processing going on, so we can flip to completely wet and it sounds exactly the same in all instances. So let's solo a band. Let's solo this one. Completely dry, completely wet. So now we're just listening to essentially most of the snare and a little bit of crash happening in there. Right, so let's leave this soloed and turn it up a little bit because you're not getting much signal through at the moment. But the first effect is a envelope follower with a on-off control. And let's listen to how that sounds. Again, quite quiet. So you get to see a visual representation of what the envelope follower is doing here, and we can turn up some of these controls to get different effects. The sensitivity is just that, how sensitive it is, so you can push it all the way up if you have a very quiet signal, or all the way down if you have a very loud signal. Attack and decay are pretty obvious, I think. Attack and release, sorry. So The interesting effects of these multiply and lift. If we move the release back down here again and turn up lift, we get quite a lot of the room sound. So the tail is still prominent. But if we turn this down and turn up multiply, what we're getting is essentially a very dried signal. Turn the release down even more, it's very dry. We turn this up. That's a bit loud, but you get the idea generally. So there's quite a lot of things you can do right here with this set of controls. And they're quite sensitive, so there's a makeup gain at the end. So let's turn lift down, makeup up, turn this off, and we can hear, if I turn the master down a little. So what we're getting is the same loop with all the room in everything except the snare. Let's go back to soloing this. Here we are with the completely unprocessed sound again. Okay, so below the envelope follower is a fairly standard EQ control. We can have any number of poles in here, so we can have a high pass filter, and let's change this one to a low pass. Obviously you can play with it in here, but if you click this button you get this extra large version. So it's a lot easier to work with. But let's delete the bands at the moment and move on to the next one, which is the compressor. So a pretty standard sort of compressor basically, just with normal threshold, attack, release, a ratio. It's a soft knee compressor, and you can make it pre or post. Next, pitch. You can change the pitch of the sounds in here. So let's put this back on 0 and turn this on. Turn the sound up a little so we can definitely hear what's going on. And this has its own independent wet-dry mix. So completely wet, completely dry. These crossfade and window are controls to manage the way that the pitch is being calculated. So if you're getting little clicks, then turning crossfade up and window up will probably help. So, because pitch modulation is very much dependent on the source material, so these will help you get a much smoother sounding pitch. So let's hear it in context. Probably never going to be quite that radical, but you never know. Back to soloing this band. Turn pitch off. And finally a distortion, a non-linear distortion unit with some drive, some offset character and mix. So pretty standard distortion type effects out of this. Again, there's a wet dry mix for this. Okay, so let's try a whole bunch of these editing together. Okay, so that's LoopBoss. Gives you the ability to change the character of each drum in your drum loop, or you could use it on a melodic loop too. You could definitely make some changes in that and get some really interesting effects. I hope you enjoy it. Take care. Bye-bye.